I'm going to call the meeting to order, and I'm going to ask the town manager to read the protocol.
Thank you. As a reminder to all residents and participants, this meeting is being recorded and will be posted to the town YouTube channel. There will be a public comment period at the beginning of the meeting, if residents would like to make comments. Additionally, residents can make comments after items, after the council speaks on items listed as a public hearing. We ask that audience members please hold questions until they have been called on. And if you're over Zoom, to use the raise hand function. If you're over Zoom, I would ask that you keep yourself muted and your video off unless you're participating in the conversation. If you are in person, I would ask that you speak very clearly and audibly so our audio systems can detect you. And with that, I will, if the meeting gets interrupted, I will end the current session, send out a new Zoom link via email. Keep that off and back to the meeting.
Thank you. So our first item is our public comment period. Did you want to in the room? And be on. Okay, thank you. The next item is consideration of the agenda as presented. Is there a motion?
Move approval of the agenda as presented.
And I cited it, so the whole person. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? The next item is consideration of the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
Move approval of consent agenda.
And second.
Yes. Thank you. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Next item. Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, no, except for Ron.
Okay, our next item is a public hearing on a building permit application submitted by Brian Afnan for the demolition of the existing house, construction of a new single-family home, curb cut driveway and apron, removal of 11 trees, and placement of a dumpster at 4714 Essex Avenue. So we will begin. Today is July 1st, 2024. This is a hearing before the Town of Somerset Council for permit application number 2407 G1 to consider demolition of the existing house, construction of a new single-family home, curb cut, driveway, and apron, removal of 11 trees, and placement of a dumpster at 4714 Essex Avenue. We ask the residents be limited to one comment each and that they be limited to 2 minutes at a time. The town manager will call on residents by listed name with the last 4 digits of the phone number if no name is provided. When you speak, please state your name and street before you make your comment. When your time is up, a buzzer will sound and you will be asked to please finish your thought. The hearing will observe the following order. First, the Somerset Town staff will present findings and submit for the record a report on the application under consideration. Next, the applicant will present their application. Following that, the Somerset Town Council will have the opportunity to ask questions of the applicant or staff relevant to the application at hand. Next, other interested parties will have the opportunity to ask questions of the applicant or present comments to the council. Next, if necessary, the applicant will have the opportunity for rebuttal testimony, after which the public comment period of the hearing shall be completed and the record closed. Finally, the council will deliberate and discuss among themselves the merits of the case, the findings of fact, and conclusions. The council may make a motion on a permit decision. If any opposition is presented, the town attorney will be asked to write a decision, and the permit shall not be issued before the expiration of 30 days to allow time for an appeal. If no opposition is presented, the town manager will be asked to issue a permit. We now begin this hearing with the presentation of the staff findings and reports. Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you. Yes, so this permit they were first applied, the applicant first applied for the permit back in May, and since then has been working closely with the staff as well as the neighbors. After several reviews by Mr. Ohlmeyer, our town engineer, our Dr. Feather, our arborist, and Chris Steppa Bailing, I believe this application is ready to be approved by the town council. Firstly, they have met all our administrative requirements, notably including a parking plan, house number certification plan, and the town delivered notice to neighbors 10 days prior to this hearing via first-class mail and email. Second, building regulations. The town's building administrator has reviewed the plans and confirmed that it complies with the town code. Notably, setback requirements and building height restrictions have been measured and confirmed for compliance. Also, with tree care protocols, the town arborist has reviewed the plans, not for tree protection and tree replacement plans for the project. I will note that 2 trees were removed without a proper permit before the hearing. This was due to, this was during the utility disconnect. I believe that this happened due to a miscommunication somewhere between the town, the applicant, and the utility surrounding the disconnect. We do not permit for utility disconnect, but we do permit for tree removal. Yet to disconnect the utilities required the removal of 2 trees. So I think that kind of clouded things a little and led to that. Finally, Bayland reviewed the plans and had 3 small comments that have since been answered by the applicant. I will note that the project requires 624.49 EDSV and provides 624.94. So slightly more than is required. Next, I'll hand it off to Doug, our town engineer. Are you there, Doug? Can you hear me?
Yes, good evening. Just want to add a couple things that I recommend that a wall check, including the planter boxes, and also a height check be provided since everything is close to the setbacks that are required. And I think that covers everything.
Okay, thank you. Next, I'll pass it over to our town arborist. If you'd like to add anything.
Thank you, Dick. So, as summarized, there's 9 healthy trees being removed and 11 had, well, sorry, 2 had trees. There's overall 11 trees. There's also 1 tree on the map, tree 9 on the east side. Silver maple is 30 inches, not 40 feet. Owner. Silver maple is notorious for weak wood and decay. So, that tree needs to be examined by somebody climbing the tree, make sure it's safe before, we decide to build it. So that would be, a caveat in the building plan. For tree protection. Also, I don't know if you saw the, email by the neighbor in the back, asking for replanting a screen and in the rear yard. That was sent on, June 28th. And tree protection, pretty straightforward. If that 30-inch silver maple is safe, we can protect that, and then there's 2 trees in this should be on here. There's one street tree that's going to be protected. The other one is good. It's on the. And then there's 1 tree in the back of the hall. That's all I have.
That concludes the staff report.
Okay, thank you. Now we will have the applicant come forward. Please identify yourself, and you can either briefly summarize your application or comment on the report. And then there'll be questions after that.
I'm Brian Afnan, Afnan and Company. I'm the applicant for 4714 Essex. I agree with staff and I ask that the council vote in favor of this application. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. So you might, you can just say there, because see what we see. Okay, so now our council president, Bar, you have any questions?
Yes, I do. This might be off the staff. Chris Stepp, in his recommendations, said to include runoff from the driveway in the mitigation calculations. Has that been addressed?
Yes.
So the number include that?
Yeah.
All right, thanks. For the proposed dry wells, first of all, I assume that the slope of the backyard is such that you can't have surface level mitigation. It has to be dry wells. Is that correct?
That's correct. There's no outfall or sufficient depth to relieve planter box, which is our preferred tier 1 method. So we have done the next best thing, which is the dry well and the micro-infiltration trench behind the patio.
Okay, thank you. Is there a maintenance plan for the dry wells at all?
So the driveway is subject to a right of entry agreement with Montgomery County. Montgomery County will be out periodically, you may already be familiar with, to inspect those facilities to make sure that they are kept in compliance with the original design. So the county doesn't have a prescriptive maintenance requirement on labor, but they do have inspection and enforcement provision if those facilities were found to be efficient in any way. Those facilities are on the property and owned by the homeowner. So any sort of maintenance or corrective action, presumably would be the responsibility of the homeowner.
Yeah, I mean, if the county is not really doing its job, as Mike, as you probably know, they're don't have the money really to run the inspections on a 3-year schedule.
So with respect to the inspections, I think it's a valid concern. Dry wells tend to be fairly straightforward. In my experience, very little maintenance is required of them, other than to make sure the clearance pipe is clear. And we have a screen to prevent debris from infiltrating that pipe, and of course, there's a clean out monitoring pipe. So that, I think, is pretty low risk. The bigger issue, I think, my observation, has been any sort of planting media and planter box type improvements. The particular planter boxes on this design are immediately at the front of the home and visible when we enter and leave the home. And my suspicion is that the homeowner is going to be quite sensitive to the upkeep and care of them. I don't think they're going to, in all probability, be in a declining, ill maintained state because they're so big and prominent. So I think the design is inherently somewhat resistant to degradation over time because of the placement of the facilities. They're sort of front and present and quite obvious. They're not tucked away, nondescript location where they can be easily.
All right. And Talbot Feather mentioned a comment that came from a neighbor, which was to do with, I think, trees being grown as a screen, but they're not part of the building plan. Have you got anything to say on that at all?
Yeah, so I've been meeting with all of the neighbors and had some very thoughtful conversations with Jeff Nussbaum, Lucy, and others about the landscape. We have not presented a formal landscaping plan. We have Culvert's recommendation for the permit approval, which stipulates the preservation protocol and then mitigation protocol with new plantings that will be bonded improvements for the town. Tolbert had stipulated a few suggested species that I had some concerns about based on my conversations with neighbors. We wanted to be a little bit more sensitive to some of the thoughts and objectives of the neighbors. So specifically, spruce, white pine, and the third escapes me, but the evergreen varieties that were suggested, all lovely trees. They're quite fine, but in this particular hot humid that we find humid environment that we find ourselves in, we noticed a lot of stress in some of those varieties lately. And so in discussions with Lucy, I had two questions for Tolbert. One was whether or not we had the ability to cluster some of the evergreen replacement plantings to the rear of the property, which would serve as a screen to some extent to enhance privacy. And we asked about the variety, whether or not we could plant what I had suggested, which is the green giant. It's not a native planting, but it does exceedingly well in our climate, even with the drought conditions. It does quite well, and it's a very lovely tree. So Tolbert responded that we did have the ability to cluster, and Lucy submitted an email to Tolbert saying, you know, would it be all right if we clustered again near the rear of our shared property line, and if we were allowed to plant this green giant variety. So that's been some of the background discussion with respect to the evergreens on the rear property.
All right, no more questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Circa.
Thank you. Just about the stormwater management, this might be more for the town manager and Dalen. Do we know what the change in stormwater management and retention is from the previous house to this house? And I think that's the sort of thing we probably like to have as upfront part of this report.
Okay, yeah, I'll start doing that up front. I can't go about it.
Of the urgent, good to know that you have it there. The trees, I want to talk a little bit more about the trees, and this is great, that it's over here too. So you read the same way I did, that the listing of trees in the 12-inch report that I recommendations, like you talk about 3 canopy trees, big list. Those 4 trees in there, so I think those are sort of examples of the types of canopy trees. How do we actually determine, how do we actually determine which trees are used? Is it left up to the discretion of the builder, does Tolbert direct from that list? How do we do that?
It's up to the owner and the builder.
So I'll spill the beans. I'm quite fond of a willow oak that has extreme resilience. It's a slow growing tree, very resistant to decay, deterioration. They don't typically topple over. It's a wonderful, wonderful tree, and the leaves are such that they're very small. They can get picked up from mulching mowing. Don't block storm drain easily. They're not a nuisance tree. They're wonderful. We have a willow oak in front of the property right now, which is gorgeous. That would be preserved. So I'm quite fond of the willow oak. The green giant arborvitae, in my experience, is just a perfect screening tree. It has a beautiful crown, grows quite lovely, and it's less wild than say a Leland cypress. Lots of folks are familiar with. I don't have a strong preference for maples. I think they're one of the varieties, like the silver maple that Tolbert mentioned, that just don't seem to be doing as well lately with the elevated temperatures. A lot of the natives don't seem to be doing well. That being said, there are some excellent native choices. There's really 2 types of shade trees. There's a major and a minor. So a major shade tree would be a big sturdy oak or a maple. Minor shade trees are cultivars that can be natives. For example, Amory. American hornbeam is a native that actually still does quite well here. Should it prove necessary based on arborist inspection at the time we mobilize of the old silver maple that's near the back of our property line next to the Jeff Nussbaum's property. The thought was we would replace that with a minor shade tree. This would be in addition to the count that Tolbert's already recommended. I've met Jeff, he's got solar panels on the back of his house, the efficacy of which is somewhat reduced by the heavy shade. So I said, hey, Jeff, if we need to take this tree down, we'll plant a minor shade tree. It'll still grow 30 to 40 feet high and provide beautiful canopy, but it won't destroy the sun angles as much to the solar panels. So these are some of my initial thoughts. There have been some concern from the neighbors, also Councilmember Circo, about ornamental trees. So there's a recommendation, I think, for 3. I'm a huge Yoshino cherry fan. I'm a big fan of Cytobrace and all things cherry related. They're not doing as well lately. What is doing well is basically anything that would thrive in the Carolinas. My view, our climate is becoming much more like the Carolinas. So a crepe myrtle, which many arborists and people in the know don't really view as a very valid tree. They provide a beautiful strong canopy and lots of shade and about a 90 to 100 day bloom. So some of the neighbors have said, would you please plant something that's just pretty? So I'm a little partial now to crepe myrtles. But excuse me, if I can find a way to make cherry work, and that's my all-time favorite decorative tree with being a Washington person. Other good trees, I think there's a lot. The Zelkovas do really, really well. In particular, there's a non-native Musashino Zelkova, which is very common in Asia. It's a champagne flute shape. They still grow 50 feet high, 30 feet across. They're wonderful for screening and privacy. It might be a great option on the rear property line, kind of mixed in with the evergreens to provide a little biodiversity of trees, so we don't plant a monoculture. These are the types of things I think of, but I really haven't finalized that plan because I want to get council's input, Tolbert's advice, and my neighbor's advice to really sort of custom tailor a planting solution that I think attempts to try to address the concerns and preferences of my neighbors.
Thank you very much. I don't have any questions.
Yes, Rohel.
Mr. Mayor, before we move on,
sure, of course.
could I just answer
Yeah, of course.
Councilmember Circo's question?
Yeah.
So right now, the code provides that one of the criteria of council reviews for a tree removal request is the extent to which a replanting plan has been proposed that includes native canopy trees. We don't have further specification. there are some jurisdictions like the township of Chase, I believe, that would add to that language from a list approved by the council, which consider doing in the future. We want to narrow that list.
I, it, may
Thank you,
add,
Mr. Mayor.
Montgomery County, DOT has an approved street planting list. Those trees have been carefully vetted to make sure they don't thrive and that they won't become a nuisance. Great example of a nuisance tree, it's very pretty, it's a sweet gum, really big pine. The original native non-engineered sweet gum. And it's very sharp and actually you can roll your ankle on them. So that's a banned street tree. So we probably wouldn't choose to plant something that could be an objection for the homeowners or residents. So we typically stick to the Montgomery County approved tree planting.
Thank you. You have no other questions.
Councilor Hall.
Couple of easy questions, probably. The driveway, the picture you drove, looks like it's got rocks on it. Is this, that just a picture?
Okay, so that's on the sediment control plan, and that is the engineering graphic nomenclature for a stabilized construction entrance, temporary drive. That particular plan that you're referring to shows an interim condition during construction, which is that kind of rugged stuff.
What are you gonna do after?
So this drive is kind of steep. There's a new height limit, as I'm sure you all know, in the town, which is a good bit lower than the previous height limit. So we've had to really set the home down in order to comply fully with that ordinance provision. And because of that, it puts a tremendous amount of pressure on the grade. There is a code requirement for a 5% 6-inch fall over the first 10 feet. That's roughly 6% grade. So we've got a condition where you come in from for the new home, you come in from Essex on the apron, which is the public right away, and there's going to be a dip in the drive. That dip needs to be of sufficient depth and capacity to safely convey water away from the home, all the way around the side where it will sheet flow over the lawn, eventually to the rear yard, the way that it does now. So the driveway slope is a variable slope. It ranges between about 6% and 8%. This is depicted on the plan. And so it's a little bit steep, and the permanent material that we show on the site plan is an impervious surface. It is concrete because permeable surfaces tend to not wear well, function quite as well the steeper the slope gets. So there's a code provision in the town ordinance which stipulates that anything less than 5% slope, fairly flat, can be impervious. But when it's more than 5%, recommended engineering practices to go with a more conventional concrete, which is what we show. The good news is that impervious surface is at the front of the property, and all that drainage eventually works its way to the back, and that is going to sheet flow over the grass. The engineering term for that is rooftop disconnect. That was not originally shown on our stormwater plans because we know that Montgomery County won't give us credit for that coming off the driveway. So we had a very conservative interpretation of the ordinance, and then Bayland came back and said, hey, we should account for this. So we did that. We're in full compliance with the town's consultant, but we know with some strong sense that the county is going to say, no, you can't do that. So the difference in jurisdictional review requirements. But the reality is that water's going to surface flow over a really long distance over the grass. It would filter and percolate most likely.
Okay. How much backyard is left in the house?
That's a really good question. Do you have a site plan that you can pull up?
I can figure it out by, you know.
I'm gonna say it's something over 50 feet, from the principal structure to the rear property line, but I would need.
Okay, that's okay. I just wanted to sort of, and in your conversations with the neighbors, what kind of complaints besides the possible, you know, screening of the property have you gotten?
Number one complaint, classic complaints is just nuisance construction. It's number one. I'll share with you some of them. One, don't park on the wrong side of the street. That's a big issue in Chevy Chase. I live over in section 3, the street's tinier. That's a big deal for us too. So we'll be mindful of that. Construction workers eating lunch and throwing chicken bones on the ground, which dogs can pick up and eat and choke on.
Whoa.
I had a dog sensitive to this issue. Site cleanliness and pickup is a constant challenge. It is a constant source of frustration for me. But generally, you know, we've got wonderful crews. They really do mean quite well. So I would say that's the number one class. Michelle Sperfield across the street said, hey, if you back into my nice new driveway apron and you crush it, you know, you break it, you buy it. I said, of course, we know. So those are the number one.
Okay,
concern.
I just wanted, all right.
I put up a site plan for you, but.
Oh, thank you.
Oh.
So, 47.7 feet on the back wall of the house to the property.
is that what is there now?
No, the house is bigger, it's deep. It's very unusual what's there now, there's actually a driveway back, but it's covered with leaves, so there's a bunch of asphalt back there. If I may, the old house is about here. The new house is here, so I'm speculating, just eyeballing, that's probably about 12 feet deeper. The footprint's a little bit deeper, but it's about the same width.
Okay.
So it's not a huge change. The biggest change, of course, is the house is gonna be a two-story home versus a one-story. So from the back, it's going to look taller, than it does today.
Thank you.
Hey, John.
I am.
I just wanted to add one thing to this excellent question. So you know that we require that there be signage on the property with a contact phone number. So that 24 hours a day, neighbors can let you know about these kind of problems. Because sometimes, like, I'm glad you brought up the chicken bone thing, because we get that, you know, I get that call. But we do require that there be a sign posted on the property.
So I haven't put the sign up yet, because I haven't wanted to make.
No, not until after you get approved.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that's really important is to make sure that you let all your subs know the rules.
Right.
Because those are the two main problems we get. That a problem will happen like on a Sunday morning, and we don't know, you know. And the second was the subs.
They need to know they can't start work before 7 o'clock Monday to Friday.
Yep.
And then Saturday too, I guess.
Right, but those kind of things often it's the
Not-
sub and not.
Even federal holidays, not.
But thank you for bringing those up, so that we are, that's one.
I mean, those are by far the principal concerns. I mean, I've really known for over 20 years, I've lived in Chevy Chase, I guess about 12 years. And those are the biggest issues. It's the construction nuisance types of questions that come up. The good news is, all of the immediate neighbors, have my phone number, have my email. I've met with all of them. My good friends live down at Warwick and Essex, so there's an element of public shame involved if I, make a mess and don't do a good job. I say that only half in jest. So, I live in Chevy Chase, this is my community, so we try to take a lot of pride. It's never perfect. But those are the efforts that we try to make.
Thank you for thinking about that in the background. That's another.
My only question is, are you available to train other developers to come?
So I have a staff that I focus on training right now, but maybe someday.
No questions.
I think that's where we're at.
So you had said that, Montgomery County might not count the water runoff. So is this not approved through Montgomery County?
We have filed a sediment control application, so we have a sediment control permit number on file. They've received the first version of the plans that the town received. Somebody at the county, I don't know who went on vacation for a month, nobody back filling. And so we have not received any comments back yet. I spoke about this earlier, about EJ. I called my engineer, I think likes to golf in the summer, couldn't get a hold of him today. So we expect to get comments back, from the county, we always do. They're typically of a de minimis nature, they may have an objection to, the format of the calculation, the placement of the super silt fence perhaps on the perimeter, especially if there's tree preservation poles, the condition requires that we kind of zigzag a little bit. So there'll probably be one iteration of that plan, it's going to substantially be what's been submitted with Wetcom.
But then if they don't count that part, would you need to get a water waiver?
No, because we are fully compliant with the town. So the county standard is with the exception of that one criteria of the so-called rooftop disconnect, the county's permitting engineering design criteria is far less stringent. If I, as an applicant, who are applying in unincorporated Montgomery County for this, if this town were here, I might elect to design the stormwater a little differently such that it isn't all treated on the property. And some of that, the house for hire would flow to the stream, for which I would need a waiver. The county grants waivers all the time because it's normal and customary. They understand the practical difficulty. The town has chosen to take a more firm stance on this. So we are actually providing full compliance, full treatment on the property with zero waiver. And that's even without any sort of credit for the driveway walk. If that makes sense. So in that one respect, we've designed to a more stringent standard.
Okay,
I think Bayland was trying to be collaborative and help us
yeah,
demonstrate more treatment, which we technically are doing, but we didn't show the calculation because the county would not do so.
uh-huh.
So.
Okay.
that's what-
I don't have any other questions.
Okay, thank you. We will now open the floor for public comment.
Tomorrow. I'm Lucy Freeman, I live at 4719 Fallstone, and this house is right behind me, and, you know, I lived in my house for 40 years, and I knew this day would come. So, over the people, a one-story house right behind me, I've been very fortunate to have it the way it's been for 4.5 years, and, you know, I've talked, as Brian said, we've talked a lot, and he has been very helpful and very open with me about it. My initial concerns were water, construction and water, and, you know, silt fence, hay, straw, whatever, about that. And then after the completion of that, and, you know, right now it's odd to be talking about this because it hasn't rained just about in a month. And so, but then summer rains are really hard, and Brian did make me feel more comfortable about that. You know, we've talked a lot about the trees, so of course, I want a barrier of evergreen trees. You know, I don't want deciduous trees because they're only there for a barrier for 6 months. So, and as Brian has spoken, came up with a green giant. It's not hoping that will be approved. Then the maple tree on the west property line. And so our town needs as many canopies as we can have. This summer, every summer, it's hot. We need the shade. The committees in town are trying to preserve canopy trees, increase the planting of them. And this tree reflects Mr. Feather that is, you know, so far without climbing up in it, it looks so okay. And I would request that we try to save this tree. Well, when people move in, they can give it lovely care, hopefully they stay, but give it a chance to survive. It's doing well now, and let's hope it keeps doing well. And then I had one other question when we were talking about this. I couldn't figure this out from the plans. So how big is the pad?
Great question.
We've now decided the yard is 47 feet,
So the patio, I want to say it's 18 or 20 feet, beyond the back foundation. Roughly. And then the width, I have to measure, it's probably.
and I care about more, what that you said, so I care about how far back. And, you know, I think this is something that everyone in the town is working for, is to have, you know, more porous surfaces. And I have to do the patio, I would pick up part of my patio, so I'd be quiet, I think it's quiet. And so I would, we'll talk about it, we could talk about the size of the patio. I didn't even do before. Okay, and I guess that's it.
Thank you.
Oh, here it is. Oh, there it was.
Is there anyone else that wanted to?
No, I'm good.
Okay, thank you. So now, Mr. Evans, you have the opportunity to rebut or answer the question.
So I won't rebut, because I don't think rebuttal is necessary, but, guess clarification on the patio, it's a great point to bring up, Lucy. So the challenge with the porous patio, which is right up next to the house, is that the county, engineering practice, discourages strongly, percolation and allowing water to percolate down so close to, the home foundation. So we used an alternate method, which is a micro-infiltration trench on the edge of the patio, closest to your common property line. So it's basically a big French drain, and all of the water that will fall on that patio will be picked up by that French drain. So that water actually won't even run past that drain and into the backyard, so we won't have a chance to get there, but we'll have an opportunity to percolate the ground far enough away from the home that it won't come with water problems. It was kind of idiosyncrasy of the design. And I agree wholeheartedly with Lisa's comments about the trees, about over, DJ about optional permit. Already talked to my tree guys about sending the licensed arborist way up into the tree to make this detailed inspection and overs. Put forth things report, and hopefully that comes back with strong indicators that the tree is healthy and will preserve. If prudence dictates that, hey, there's a sign that the tree is structurally weak or it's going to rapidly decline, then I would have an obligation, I believe, standard care would dictate if I remove that tree, because we don't want to create a problem for our future homeowner and certainly for Jeff. God forbid that tree falls down, the damage that will become the homes, people in those homes. Pretty devastating. So we're in full agreement.
Thank you very much. So this concludes the public portion of the hearing. The record is now closed, and I will turn it over to the council president to lead the discussion and the final decision.
All right, so looking for comments from my fellow council members. Debbie, any thoughts?
No, that's pretty straightforward to me.
Okay, Shannon?
Well, I was just wondering, you know, maybe this is a question for each. Am I allowed to ask questions to us?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I was just wondering, you know, did we follow like the same protocol or fines with the trees that were removed illegally that we did with the other applicant who his trees were removed illegally on Cumberland?
Not yet, that is something that the council could discuss, is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like, I don't really know what happened, but you know, we had 2 trees that were removed illegally on Cumberland. And we, you know, gave them kind of a hard time, and I think there was a fines and stuff, right? So I would suggest that, you know, I don't know who the ownership was during the time of these illegal tree removals, but that we, you know, have a similar approach.
Well, why don't you ask the township? That might be good.
How might that be handled?
So the council could decide whether citations should be issued for those violations and instruct staff they should have cited.
Yeah, I just don't think it's fair that we, you know, to the other applicant that we, you know, did cite him, right?
We did.
Yeah, so I think we should just be fair. And then
So that'd be
also,
within the decision, right?
Good, so in the last case, how many tree removals and how many citations were?
There was 4 removals and 4 citations.
Okay.
for them that were done illegally,
Yes.
yeah. And then, you know, also, I mean, I do think that 11 healthy trees is a lot to remove from this site. And I guess that I know we don't have a full planting plan in here, but when do we do that planting plan then? If it's not now,
Yes, let me see if there's a requirement in the code for the time period for implementation of the plan.
because isn't our code say that we have to almost replace 1 to 1? Or was that maybe old code?
There is no requirement for 1-to-1. The council can decide whether the reforestation proposed is adequate, or whether the council wants to supplement it as a condition of approval. The code does provide that there is a maintenance period, a warranty, 2 years for trees that are required as replacements, and the town collects a bond to ensure that the trees are planted and that they survive the warranty period. All right, and yeah, no specific time, but you could. Generally speaking, from experience from other jurisdictions, the reforestation takes place after the construction is done.
Mhm. So the permit's not dependent on that forestation plan? I thought we always had it. in
Well,
our-
the bond is the means by which you ensure compliance.
Okay,
Not the permit per se.
got it.
So you brought up,
But you could say we want them within 6 months or such other time as the arborist deems appropriate after construction is complete. Sometimes you have to wait for the seasons to be appropriate for planting as well.
Yeah, no,
So,
I understand, okay.
you brought up possibility of citations for the trees that were removed early, and also you're concerned that enough trees are being planted for lengthening the rate, right? Okay, we'll come back to that, but let's move on. Steve?
So I appreciate you bringing up the point about how important it is for the council to be equitable and consistent in the application of lines or any rulings. I guess one thought I had in this case, and maybe need to double check the records, is that in the other case, the Cumberland case, is my understanding that we had said, don't do anything, don't take down trees, and then they went ahead and got taken down anyhow, for whatever reasons, which the builder made the builder's responsibility. In this case, I heard EJ saying there was some confusion about authorization to proceed with the utility disconnects. I don't know if that matters, I just think something.
Oh, that it came down when they were taking down the disconnecting of the wires? Those people
No,
just
it's
cut.
still-
EJ,
Water
could you
is
explain
on.
again what it was.
Yes, so we do not permit for utility disconnect. We do permit for tree removal. But for this particular utility disconnect, 2 trees had to come down. And I think somewhere in those discussions, confusion arose about if they could go ahead and remove those trees as part of this utility disconnect, or if they had to. I don't know exactly what it happened in the
You're saying
conversation.
it's unclear whether they were removed as part of the utility disconnect or not. Is
Well,
that it?
They were removed as part of the utility disconnect, but there's kind of confusion on who said what, causing those trees to be removed. There's
They were
a
gonna come down.
miscommunication somewhere.
But they had to come down to do this disconnect, is that
Yes,
correct?
yes.
Okay, in that case, I don't think we should find them.
Yeah, but we don't know if they were healthy trees or not healthy trees, or
Yeah, but you have to do a disconnect. I mean, if you need it, how do you know?
that goes like up to 13 trees.
These are 2 trees, I got it, yeah.
Well, these 2 trees are part of the,
That,
Oh, they are?
yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay,
So I said, I agree with you, it's a large number of trees to come down. Historically, to the extent that I have some track history here, the council's approach has been to allow the removal of trees that are in the footprint of a new construction, but to exercise some judgment on trees that would be removed for other aspects of a new build, whether it be a swimming pool or a patio, something outside of that new construction. So I was looking at it, if we wanted to like question particular tree removals, are they necessary? There's tree number 10 in the area of the patio. The tree number 10 is it's a large Leyland cypress in poor condition. So it's to me, it's not a lovely canopy tree we want in good health. So I appreciate the builder's efforts in this construction, reaching out to neighbors, and I think it's overall a good plan.
And here,
Well, I appreciate Chan, your points. I think on the two trees that were removed, we are establishing that they were removed because of the sewage link of disconnect.
Right.
And they're included in the 11 count. I understand that there are 9 healthy trees in the count, correct?
Right, two.
2 unhealthy, 9 healthy, inclusive of the 2 that were removed. Or
No,
is it
11 healthy. That
11
include,
Well, 9 healthy, 2 unhealthy. or had-
And the 9 includes the 2 that were removed?
Yeah, the 9 includes.
So it's 7 additional healthy trees. But I appreciate the point that we could request a reforestation that I suspect listening to the applicant, we will be more than happy to potentially replant up to the 7 trees in front, or potentially more. And we can stipulate or request that care be taken for arborvitae's or green giant, inspired green fencing on the back property line, as it's been discussed. And we can also potentially stipulate that care be taken to assess the health of the maple before it is, before additional steps are taken. I think we can do all of that, Shannon. Which I think probably goes as far, and hearing the applicant, I suspect there will be impact.
Shannon, do you want to pursue a motion on citations for the two trees removed or not?
I mean, no, if you guys don't think it's necessary, that's fine by me. I mean, I'm not like judge, jury, tree, like what, what happens with it. But, I just felt that, if it's a similar situation that we had with the house on Cumberland, we should try to be
No, it's a good.
equitable across it. So, but I mean, I don't really care.
I think in this circumstance, well, we should still address the sequencing miscommunication issue at some point.
Yes.
Because it will come up again, whether the utility disconnect. But in this instance, it doesn't seem to be, sort of activities that were in control of the applicant.
Yeah.
What about Kabir's idea that we add a screening trees at the back, that condition, in other words, part of the landscaping plan, that would be screening trees at the back?
Can we stipulate that one? Because it would effectively mean seeing the landscaping plan. How would that work in practice?
So, generally speaking, I think the code contemplates that the replanting plan is presented at the time of approval of the permit, because
Which we
the
don't have.
criteria is to review the replanting plan and decide whether it's adequate. The arborist has recommended 9 reforestation trees, 3 canopy, 3 ornamental, 3
You have.
evergreen.
Yeah,
Okay, and he's accepted that report.
Yes.
Yes, so maybe we don't need to stipulate,
At the
yeah.
moment, there's no screening.
Do we need to address the screening in the back? How would we
So,
add that to the reforestation or clarify that?
so yeah, this is an issue we've discussed at a prior hearing.
Yeah,
And I gave you the opinion that, to me, it appears the intent of the ordinance is to require reforestation for environmental benefits and not for screening purposes for neighbors.
yes,
So ordinarily, there should be a nexus between the condition you are imposing and the code requirement
I see,
that the condition is mitigated.
yes. Well, the other reasons they were brought up was that we are not confident that other tree varieties will survive.
Right, but in this case, I think that testimony is that the arborist has recommended among the 9 trees, 3 evergreen trees, which would be used for screening.
Okay. Okay,
And the green giants,
great job, the arborist.
very large trees.
Well, are we ready to put a motion together then?
Can I just say one thing about the screening tree business? I think, it's not our place to tell a resident / builder they have to put up screening trees. That's something that, if I don't like your backyard, that's my problem. I gotta put up my screening trees, and that's exactly what happened to me. Somebody built a ginormous house behind me, and I put up screening trees. But I don't think it's our place to tell somebody what to do in terms of decorating their property with trees, except I know in terms of, when you take a lot down, you gotta put some up. So that's just my 2 cents here.
That said, in this case, sounds like an applicant is very.
Right, so it's great that he decided to do it, but.
Right, but it's not, it isn't our place, that's what Ron Wright just said to us, that it's.
I would say it is an appropriate consideration in the variance context. So if, for example, someone's requesting a rear setback variance, build the house closer to the rear lot line than allowed, then that condition does mitigate the code requirement that a variance is being granted.
Robin, you want to make a motion?
Yes, so move to approve the building permit application submitted by Brian Appling for the demolition of existing house, construction of a new single-family home or driveway apron, removal of 11 trees, 2 of them already gone, and placement of a dumpster at 4714 Essex Avenue with the following additions, in addition to the tree plan, which has been presented, we want a inspection on the wall check to include the planter boxes, so that would be part of the motion. And the arborist should inspect the silver maple for possible decay. That's, and with that, that means the arborist climbing the tree, inspecting the decay. So those are the.
That's your motion.
That's the motion.
Okay, Mr. Town Attorney, is that legally and technically sufficient?
It is, Mr. Mayor. I would just add one clarifying statement that if the silver maple is found to be healthy, it shall be preserved according to the tree protection plan. And if it's not found to be healthy, then it may be removed.
Okay, is that, okay,
That's
second. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? All those opposed, thank you. Thank you, sir.
And also Councilmember President Barr, for the record and for the applicant as well, our code does require a maintenance agreement for stormwater drainage plan to be approved, so that'll be something that I draft up to give to you.
Oh, you forgot.
Yes.
BJ, you all set?
All right.
And we will do a height check.
So you say something.
No, Mr. Mayor, just adding for the benefit of the council that our code does require a maintenance agreement for any stormwater drainage plan that's approved.
Oh,
So
you're
that's-
just telling me.
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you, everybody. So, one thing that was really left on the agenda is the building administrator's request. Mr. Lamar.
Doug, your report.
Doug, are you there?
Doug, can you hear me? Doug?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Are you calling me?
Yes,
Yeah,
you
for
have your
your
report.
yeah.
Okay. Let's see. To go over my report.
Yeah, it was really left on the agenda. So we're ready
Okay.
for your report.
All right, a couple things to go over. 4722 Cumberland, the architects have submitted a concept plan to make several additions to the existing house. Unfortunately, the established building line is beyond the existing house, so the improvements that they're proposing all will require a variance. And the last time I talked to the architect, they were down to 6 variances that are going to be required. And after talking to Ron, we agreed that a stormwater management plan would also be required with the variances, so they're working on that now. 4905 Cumberland, the county, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
the county has not approved the stormwater management plan, so the town has not issued any of their building permits yet. At 4515 Dorset, we are closing out that permit. They were building a garage at the back of the house. And at 4816 Essex, the council approved an extension of the building permit till August 6th. When I went by there this morning, I don't think they're going to make it, so I sent them another email asking if they're going to need an extension and telling them that they had to have it in so it could be to the council by August 5th. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Council President Barr, do you have any questions?
We don't have an August meeting, right?
We have a July work, it could be on the July work session or the, August work session.
So how does this work with the? We're not gonna be able to approve the extension until September.
Well, we could approve it at either, or the council could discuss it at either the July work session or the
We're
August.
gonna have we're gonna have a brief council meeting.
Yeah, well, it's not gonna be in by July 15th, so it would be the August work session, I think, under the fall. All right, we better make a note. All right.
So I'll tell them to get it in for the work session.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, for there's
gonna be a
special council.
well, for the August.
Okay.
And I basically want to keep that. All right, when you said the county had not approved the stormwater plan for, 4805 Cumberland, have they got comments on it, or have they just not got around to approving it?
I can answer that, Doug. It was actually similar to what happened with this last, hearing, is that their stormwater management person just got back from vacation,
They haven't got around to it.
so they haven't got around. to it.
Okay, thanks.
Council member Circa, do you have any questions?
No questions, thank you, Doug.
Councilor Heller.
No,
Councilor Kumar.
No questions, thank you.
Councilor Rovak, do you have any questions?
no questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lohmeyer.
Thanks, Doug.
The next item is public hearing on a tree removal permit submitted by Alexis Karma for the property located at 4817 Essex Avenue. Mr. Kim.
Let's turn it over to our arborist.
Okay, so, there's trees in the backyard of 3 houses, 4817 Essex, 4816, 4820 Dorset. And I've contacted all the, owners and having emails attached for permission to take it down. It's actually a dead, large flowering cherry, 24 maybe 30 inches, but I meant different part of it. Get around it, with inside and cover it, not recommend we move on.
Thank you. Is the application?
I actually told her she didn't need to come.
Oh, okay, thank you. Council President Bar, do you have any questions?
Only was it killed by ivy?
No, I didn't kill trees.
Oh, really?
I think it was dead and the ivy took over.
Okay, all right. No questions.
Council member Circa,
No questions.
Councilor Heller,
No question.
Councilor Kumar,
No questions.
Councilor Rovak.
No questions.
Is any, are you, Council, you can make a motion?
Move that we approve the tree removal permit submitted by Alexis Farmer for the property located at 4817 Essex Avenue.
Second.
Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed, or abstained? The next item is public hearing on potential approval of a contract with C Brown Associates for professional accounting services. Mr. Town Manager.
Yeah, so this was discussed in the previous work session. This is the current firm that we use, and we're very happy with them. Due to, they kind of took on more responsibility than was originally included to the scope of work, so it's been updated to reflect that in this new contract. I'll quickly read through the paragraph that has been inserted. In order to provide the proper oversight described above, CBA will work closer with the online activities being performed by the staff using QuickBooks Online. In this respect, we will continue to train employees to properly post expenses, including payroll and payroll taxes in the system. We will also train the town manager on all aspects necessary for him to understand QuickBooks, so he can perform oversight to his staff on an ongoing basis. We will work with staff to ensure that all vendor files are updated annually with all necessary information required to generate 1099s and other third-party reports. While working with the external auditors, we will continue to be responsible for training staff on understanding the financial statements, and how to become familiar with the requirements of audits. We will continue to monitor both the check writing process and the activities of escrow bank account for the homeowners projects. And the second change is that the cost due to that increased scope of work has been raised by 24,000 annually to 36,000.
Is that complete?
That concludes that.
Thank you. Council President Bar, do you have any questions?
I have no questions.
Council member Circa,
No questions.
Councilor Heller,
No question.
Councilor Kumar,
No questions, thank you.
Councilor Rovak.
No questions.
Is there any citizen in favor? Council, you prepared to make a motion?
Motion to approve contract with C Brown and Association for professional accounting services.
But by the way, I was just thinking now.
Yeah. I was wondering.
This was just the scope of work. For the contract.
But
Yes, but EJ
it
mentioned
should be like up to something.
Yes.
we have an actual amount.
If you want.
Yeah, you can include
36,000 into the motion.
I mean, are we supposed, isn't it supposed to be in the motion? Do we approve the contract with them?
Yes.
Ideally, yes.
It's not been, well, yes.
And
Period,
then
yeah.
also we should have an agenda. In the future.
Yeah.
I think we're supposed to have an agenda.
EJ, this is the final amount, right? It's not gonna show.
That's a
I think we
charter
can
requirement.
avoid
I'll check.
I think we have in the past.
Let me check that, Mr. Mayor.
But anyway, we don't need, it. It's too late now.
Yeah.
So there's a motion, is there a discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. We'll get a ruling on that. in the future. The next item is potential introduction of a resolution to discontinue identification of residents with street name and to establish a consent of release form for use of photographs of minors identified by name. Mr. Town Manager.
Yes, so this is the same resolution that was seen at the last work session with one of the paragraphs edited. So I'll quickly just read through the one that was at the work session and then the edits. So at the work session, there was discussion about the paragraph that said, whereas it is important to respect the privacy and rights of individuals under the age of 18, identified by name and depicted in photographs used for public dissemination, and to obtain proper consent and authorization prior to their use in any media format. That was edited by Ron, which was then further edited by the Communications Committee. And so it now reads, whereas, however, the town recognizes that it is nevertheless, it is important to safeguard the privacy and rights of individuals under the age of 18 identified by name and depicted in photographs used for public dissemination, and to obtain proper consent and authorization from a parent or guardian when a minor is identified and depicted in photographs or other media format used for public dissemination. That was edited, everything else is the same as it was at the last session.
Right, I mean, there's a little bit of typo there, but, so the town recognized that it is nevertheless, is what it said right now. So the town recognizes that it is important, would probably all you need to say.
All right.
Okay, the Council President, Barney.
No,
Councilmember Circa.
I just note that EJ might get a second job as, like, one of these people reading disclaimers very.
No, like Pfizer drug, it's like at the end.
Just
Maybe
to
pause.
tell you in so many ways, but people are smiling and butterflies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you have any
That was it.
questions?
No
Experience
questions.
well.
Councilor Howell, do you have any questions?
No.
Councilor Kumar,
I'm ready to make a motion.
do you have any questions?
No questions.
Councilor Rovak, do you have any questions?
No.
Are you Councilor prepared to make the introduction motion?
Motion to introduce resolution to discontinue identification of residents with street name and to establish a consent and release form for use of photographs of minors identified by name and town.
Is there a second? Second. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Just a note that there is a consent form attached to the motion. And the town is gonna have to make that available so that they can be shared with parents.
Okay, well, this now will be, it's now introduced and we'll have an article in the journal and it'll most likely be, on the agenda in August. Or September.
September.
Yes. And our final item is our manager's report.
Well done, Robin, we are ahead of.
At the moment.
I won't, I promise I'll take it.
Just read it like you read it. Yeah.
Well, why don't you just, is there anything to add to the report? No one's got questions.
The report,
Go ahead.
I'll just kind of do a quick summary.
Yeah, please.
The summer's going well so far. Pool season is going well. Working closely with American Pools and the pool staff, the pool committee. Minor issues have popped up here and there, but the staff have been quick. But the staff, both pool and town hall, have been quick to address those. Also personally, I've heard that many kids now enjoy the new water slide that was installed. You've spoken to me several times. The town is currently working with the swim team in preparations for divisionals, which are on Saturday, July 20th. I just wanted to update on the pool parking lot is kind of as a test run. We have blocked off kind of the 3 troublesome spaces with planters. We're kind of just, we can make sure those are, people don't move the planters, that's an issue we're starting to run into, so.
But they
Yeah,
are
moving.
moving it every
Hold
time.
on, let him.
Sorry.
So working on that, we've also, you can see it on your layout, but we have gotten a new sign for the pool bridge as well. In the off season, I'm starting to make preparations for the next off season. Part of that too is I will soon be drafting an RFP for pool management services since our current contract with American Pools expires at the end of this pool season. Second, our RFP for composting services is live. I hope to make a recommendation at the July work session for potential approval at a special hearing at the August work session. So we do not have an August council meeting. I signed the contract with Polymorphic for new software after the last town work session. And so I will be meeting alongside with Justin, their implementation team. We're also preparing to shift to a .gov handle. Originally it was supposed to happen this month, but I've been working with our IT guy to just make sure it's a smooth transition as possible. And then me alongside the mayor, our town clerk, and our council president attended the Maryland Municipal League Summer Conference the week prior. And one of the main takeaways for me was new potential ideas on traffic calming and sidewalk repair. Haven't prepared a full report on that yet, but there's just some new ideas that I'm very excited about potentially bringing to Somerset. And the last thing is this Thursday, their Somerset Independence Day celebration, and I'm very excited for that. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Council President Martin.
So the fiscal year has just ended. Are you gonna give us a report on our revenues? and all
Yes,
that?
I'm gonna do a end of the year financial report, once we kind of finish off the final invoice paying, final invoices and making sure everything's in QuickBooks, and I'll be preparing a report.
Councilor Circa. More questions? Councilor Heller.
My only question is those planters. I don't know what to do. They are very heavy. You know, I went there this morning to swim and one was moved. And I started to think, you know, the word chutzpah comes to mind, that they just move it. But there's a double chutzpah here, is that they don't put it back after they leave. They just, whoever moves it parks and then goes. And those things are, I moved one back, I guess on Friday and Saturday, whatever it was. And it was just, they're heavy. They're really, I guess I did Sunday. They're really heavy, so I didn't do it today. Because they're just too heavy. So I don't know what to do. What are we gonna do? I think, how about an announcement to the town in Friday announcements, whenever you send announcements, explaining why we're doing what we're doing. Maybe people just don't understand. I don't know.
They'd
Maybe
rather
signage.
move those heavy
Maybe-
planters and walk, you know, like.
Or more, yeah, I know, it's not.
Well, anyway, thanks for bringing that up and. Did you have anything? else?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That's what.
Thanks to you, the investor, for everything, the full season and the upcoming division.
Councilor Red, last word. No questions.
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
So-
Thank you, everybody.